Hello everybody, in this video we're going to talk about how to divide polynomials using synthetic division. Now, synthetic division is kind of like a shortcut. We know in a previous video we talked about how to divide polynomials using long division, and I'll put a link to that video in the description of this one. So let's look at the top. It says when a polynomial is divided by a binomial, so that's key, binomial of the form x minus k, synthetic division can be used. So this binomial also needs to be a linear binomial, okay? So we see right here in example 1, we're going to divide negative x cubed plus 3x squared plus x by x minus 2. So that's a linear binomial term, so that is when we can use synthetic division. Now, if this said like x squared plus 4, then we cannot use synthetic division. We got to use our long division method. So that's what we're looking for in order to know, can we use synthetic division or not, x minus 2. So now, we know we can use it, so now what do? Well, this part right here is my x minus k, and we're going to set that equal to 0. So we have x minus 2 is equal to 0, so we get x is equal to 2. And so now what we do with this 2, we're going to use it in our synthetic division. We're going to put it on the outside, and we're going to draw like an L shape here for our synthetic division. And how we're going to set this up is we're going to take the coefficients of our dividend, and we're going to put them across in this box. So here we have like a -1, then we have a 3, then we have a 1, and we don't have a constant here. So anytime we don't have a term, so if I didn't have a 3x squared, anytime we don't have a term, we need to put a 0. So since I don't have a constant term, I'm going to end that with a 0 there. And so now we're ready. So our first term we're always going to bring down, it's kind of like a freebie, we just write it down there, -1. And now from here on out, we're going to multiply our numbers that are diagonal, and then we're going to add the numbers that are vertical. And so let me show you what I mean. So we're going to take -1 and we're going to multiply it by 2, and we're going to put that right there, we get -2. So we multiplied that diagonal. So now we're going to add our vertical here. So we have 3 plus -2, that'd be like 3 minus 2, and we get 1. And so now we're back at a diagonal, 1 times 2, and we get 2. Now we add our vertical, 1 plus 2 is 3. Back to a diagonal, 2 times 3 is 6. And we add the vertical, 0 plus 6 is 6. Okay, and so now we have to interpret what we have. And so we're going to start on the right with the 6. And the last term, or the last number we have, is our remainder. Then we're going to move to the left. That will be our constant term. As we move to the left, that will be our linear term. And then our -1 there will be our quadratic, or our x squared term. And so now what we can do is we can take our result and we can add that, or we can write those together, and that will be our answer. So we have we have -1x squared, or -x squared, plus 1x, or plus x, plus 3, and now here's our remainder. So plus, and we have 6, and then we go back to our original divisor, which is x minus 2. Okay, and so that would be our quotient for example number 1. All right, now let's take a look at example number 2. We're going to divide 3x cubed minus 2x squared plus 2x minus 5 by x plus 1. So now here, notice that our x minus k is addition. So this would be like if we had x minus -1, right? So we can see that k is going to be -1. Another way to find this is we could set this equal to 0. So x plus 1 equals 0, so x is equal to -1. And so now remember, we're going to take that -1, and we're going to use that in our synthetic division. So our coefficients here, so we have 3, we have -2, we have +2, and we have -5. Okay. So now once again, we're going to bring down our first term, so that'd be a 3, -1. Now we're going to multiply the diagonal, so -1 times 3 would be -3, and we're going to add our vertical. So -2 plus -3 would be -5. -5 times -1 would be +5. 2 plus 5 would be 7. 7 times -1 would be -7. And we add the vertical, so -5 plus -7 would be -12. Right? So we have our 4 numbers there. Now we work backwards. We say this is my remainder, this is my constant, my linear, and my quadratic. So now we can write our quotient out. So we have 3x squared minus 5x plus 7. And now instead of writing plus negative, we can just write minus here. So minus, and draw my division there. And so we have 12, and then over x plus 1. Okay. All right, so far the 2 examples that we've done have had a remainder. This last example we're going to do will not have a remainder, so we're going to talk about, go through that example, see what that looks like, and then also talk about how we could check our work. So we have, once again, x minus 5, so we can set that equal to 0, and we figure out that x is equal to 5. And so now we can use that for our synthetic division. So we're going to write down our coefficients. So we have a 3, we have a negative 14, and we have our constant term is a negative 5. So now we're going to bring down our first term. So we have 3. Now we're going to multiply the diagonal. 3 times 5 would be 15. And now we're going to add. This would be 1. And 1 times 5 would be 5. And when we add here, we get 0. So we can see we have a remainder of 0, our constant term, and our linear term. So our solution here, our quotient, is 3x plus 1. And so now, let's think about what we were doing. We were doing division, right? So we should be able to check our work by multiplication, right? It's like if I did 8 divided by 2 and got 4, we could do 4 times 2 and get back to 8. So essentially, since we got 3x plus 1 with no remainder, we can multiply 3x plus 1 by x minus 5, and if we did our math correctly, we should get a product of 3x squared minus 14x minus 5. So let's do that. So we have 3x plus 1, and we're going to multiply that by x minus 5. Okay, and so we have two binomials being multiplied, so we can just FOIL. So 3x times x would be 3x squared. 3x times negative 5 would be negative 15x. 1 times x would be x, and 1 times negative 5 would be negative 5. Combine our x terms in the middle, so 3x squared minus 14x minus 5. And notice that is what we had at the beginning. And so that's a way for us to check our work, and that is how we can use synthetic division as a shortcut to dividing polynomials.